So way back in 2005, when I was starting my law firm, there was one book that really changed everything about how I operated my law firm, how I grew my law firm, and how I ultimately started and built an online business as well. And today I want to tell you that story. Let's get to it. So I was living in Florida and I was working at the public defender's office. I was making about $36,000 a year. I don't know why in God's green earth I remember the exact salary, but that's what I was making, $36,000 a year. And this is after spending years in law school, undergrad, all that thing. I had a lot of it was six figures student loan debt is what I had. I was making $36,000 a year. But the great thing about being at the public defender's office is you have a lot of control over your cases. You can kind of decide how you want to do them. I remember my first day, I literally was given a stack of files like that big and told to go and get those cases resolved, figure out what you got to do. And I was sitting in a bunch of pretrial conferences and I'd never met these people before. I didn't know the law. I didn't know anything. It's trial by fire at the PD's office, which was great for me and what I was doing at that stage in my life. I needed that. It was not a lot of money and I wanted to do better than that. I wanted to start my own firm. That was the first time I finally decided, you know what? I'm gonna start my own firm. The initial goal when I started my firm, money definitely played a role, but I think also freedom. Like I didn't like the idea of being controlled by other people. I've never liked that. I've always said I'm functionally unemployable. If you are right away, if you're an entrepreneur, if you can go out there and if you feel comfortable working for somebody else or not. There's two types of people in this world. The people who are cool with working for someone else, doesn't matter. And there's the people who under no way, no how, is that gonna happen. I was clearly in this camp. So at some point I decided I want to go out and start my own firm. But before I did that, I just started doing some research, thought about these things. So I read some books like The Purple Cow by Seth Godin, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. I mean, look at this. I don't know if you can tell how it's been read several times. This is one of my favorites. Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. I still have notes in here. I still have, what does this say? Names of all these attorneys that I need to go network with. Never Eat Alone, right? And then this one was probably the best book. I mean, it's highlighted all over, is Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. Great book if you're just getting started. Anyway, I started reading these books, and as you start getting down that rabbit hole that is marketing, you start to realize how much more there is out there that you don't already know about. At some point, I started developing this interest in internet marketing. I think what really happened is I hired somebody, I paid them like $4,000 to do my website for me. It was terrible. I mean, it wasn't terrible for the time, but it was terrible because it was basically like 4 or 5 pages and it was just a bunch of information. But this is back in like 2004, 2005 when that's what the internet was. It was information online. So at some point I started to learn about online marketing, and I think once my eyes really started opening up to that idea was somewhere around 2010. And obviously that went on to building blogs, I did a podcast, I did some e-commerce, I did a bunch of things trying to figure out where I was gonna go with my legal career, how I was gonna do this. Because what you find is I got the law firm to where it was very successful. And so now I had the money, I was earning decent salary. You realize that you're trapped in a job that you didn't like anymore. And it's not that I don't like being a lawyer. I actually really enjoy being a lawyer, but I also want the freedom, and I don't want to be tied down to going to court because somebody says I got to go to court. And I don't want to, if I want to take a week off or an afternoon off, I don't want to have to clear my schedule of 30 appointments, which is what happens when you're a lawyer. You've got like a ridiculous amount of appointments every single week, meeting with clients, hearings, mediations, all these things. And so it's very difficult. Clear your schedule of that. There's only 2 ways to do it, as I can tell. You can either decide 6 months in advance you're going to clear your schedule and you are going to not take any appointments that week and designate that as what's called secured leave, which is actually a term here in North Carolina that you have to file for to say, I want to take a vacation. And you have to tell them like 9 months in advance that you're gonna do that. Not really, it's actually 3 months in advance. Or you could hire an associate who could do all that work for you, but then you still have the issue of there's just more stuff that's gonna come on your plate, on your table. That's where the YouTube channel started to grow, and I started to realize that I could help people through this YouTube channel and provide information and guidance. And my hope as this channel grew, when it first started, I didn't know what was gonna happen of this. And I continued to do everything as, continued to work through the law firm the way I was working through it since day one. But I always knew in the back of my head that something else is gonna happen at some point. And the way my online business journey worked, really starting to work on it around 2010 to 2017, 2018 was when I finally started to get some traction. It was a long road. And so to those of you that are out there and thinking, this is something I might want to do, I don't think it has to take as long as it took me. The problem with me is I would devote several months to, I'd be working hard at the law firm and a lot of clients would be coming in and that would generate a lot of work. It would take me away from the side business that I was trying to work on. And then when months got slow, I would work more on the side business, but it wasn't really doing anything. So then I would go back to the law firm. And it was this big roller coaster ride until things really started to pick up in the online business. And now we're at a point where the online business is kind of trucking along and I've got to decide what am I going to do about my law firm. That's a big issue, right? I can either limit the number of clients I have. And by the way, I should mention, I'm not talking about Hawthorn Law, which is this whole YouTube channel. I have a separate law firm that a lot of you probably don't know about, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that, because that's the law firm that I am not interested in being part of anymore. And so it's either I sell that off or I bring in an associate to do all the work and eventually take it over. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I haven't figured that out. But the one thing I can tell you is that this online business thing is here to stay. And this is especially as we work our way through COVID right now and everyone's working remotely, this is something that's going to be around. People want to learn through the online platforms. People want to do business with people through online platforms. If you are thinking about starting an online business, if you're thinking, yeah, I don't know, is this something I can do or not? You absolutely can do it. I never in a million years would have thought that I would have the success that I'm having with my online business. But the thing is, it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't broken away from that $36,000 a year job and started reading books like Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. But you just have to go out there and you've got to start learning and you got to start doing. You want to go out there implementing. So I think one of my mentors, Jeremy Franson and Jason Van Orden, who I think they still have this. They had the Internet Business Mastery podcast and they had an academy that was like $500, which is one of the first programs I joined. They said that you have to do what's called just-in-time learning. So what that means is you learn just enough to do the next thing and then you implement and then you move forward until you need to know something else and then you do more just-in-time learning to get you to the next level. And that's the way this whole process works, right? My advice and my guidance, if you're out there and you're thinking about you want to start an online business, I think you need to go for it, and you definitely can do it on the side, but you just have to start with baby steps. Here's what I did. It was not necessarily intuitive at the time, but in hindsight, I realized it was really what has made the business successful at this point, where I can actually think about walking away from the law firm. And that is those 8 years or so that I was working on online business but not actually getting anywhere. I was putting the cart before the horse. I was trying to sell products to people that didn't want them. I was trying to buy an audience basically by using ads with a product that I didn't know that was tested in the market. I did a lot of things that failed. But what happened is I was slowly over time building up my list of people that were interested in me and were interested in following me and doing and paying money for what I had to offer. And once that hit a certain point, that's when things started to change. And so my advice to you is don't go out there thinking, how am I going to be the next overnight success? Because there's no such thing as an overnight success. There's no such thing as a get-rich-quick scheme. That's not the way this works. It takes time. And whether it's going to take you, 2 months or 2 years or 10 years, depends on how fast you can implement. But what you really need to do is start by growing that audience, growing that tribe of people that want to hear what you have to say, that are interested interested in what you have to say. Figure out who those target people are and start talking to them, whether it be on social media. You can do this for free, YouTube, whatever it might be. Start building up that audience. And once you get to that audience to the point where it's at a critical mass where you can actually start to build a business off that, then you can start figuring out what it is that you're going to sell to them. You got to start with the audience first. And once you got that audience, then you can sell. That's my advice for today. And then from there, the sky's the limit, right? This is a great world we're living in, that we have the opportunity to do something like this. If you like what I'm talking about here with online business entrepreneurship, Friday I talk about entrepreneurship and I share a story or advice, guidance, things that I'm doing and what's working in my life that might also be able to help you. So here's a link to another video. I'll see you in the next video, folks. Take care. Have a great day.